I'm Ashton Addison from the Crypto Coin Show, and today on Blockchain Interviews, we have Rajiv Khemani, CEO of Auradine. Rajiv, welcome to the show, and thanks for taking the time.
Thank you, Ashton. Thank you for having me on your show.
Very welcome. Excited to dive into blockchain infrastructure, Bitcoin mining as well. I know your team just came out with a new release, which I'm excited to dive into today. I know that you have a lot of experience, not just in blockchain, in business over the past decades as well. So I'd love to start off our conversation with just hearing a little bit about yourself, your background, what got you to this point, and then we'll dive into the latest on Auradine.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been in Silicon Valley for now more than 30 years. And
Wow.
during that period, I have worked in certain big companies, companies like Sun Microsystems, which is part of Oracle, worked at NetApp, which is a storage leader. But in the last 20 plus years, I've been involved with 4 different startups. So the first company was a company that did network processing semiconductors. It was acquired by Intel. I worked at Intel for several years. My second startup company was a company called Cavium, which was a leader in security processing and multi-core processing products. That company went public, eventually was acquired for $6 billion. And then my third company was focused on the transition of the world from enterprise to the cloud. And we built very high performance networking silicon for the cloud and AI networks. And that company in 2021 was acquired by Marvell for approximately 1.3 billion. So I've done several companies. Auradine, which is the current company where I am co-founder and CEO, is my fourth company. Focus, as you can see, is on infrastructure and providing very high performance, sustainable, and secure solutions.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's an incredible experience, Rajiv. And it's so fascinating that now that has led you to working on Auradine and at the lead up of all this infrastructure. I feel like we're rebuilding the entire internet with blockchain and the cloud. And the beginning of blockchain, it wasn't very scalable. And as I'm sure you know, scalability is important to infrastructure as we're still at such a small amount of people that are utilizing blockchains, but hopefully, probably, it will be hundreds of millions to billions of people in the future, and you need to have scalable infrastructure for that. Can you talk about the different facets of Auradine and what exactly are you working on? Where does the architecture need to be bulletproof for blockchain to scale?
Yes. So at Auradine, we are focused on 2 areas, blockchain and AI, both of which we believe will have a multiple trillion impact on the global economy and IT over the next decade or more. The challenges that these new technologies have are not very different than a lot of the internet technologies in the past. Mm-hmm. All of them require very high performance. All of them require energy efficiency. All of them require security. And so I think what we have done is we've assembled a team at Auradine that has done this many times before, very successfully. And so that's what we are focused on. So in the case of blockchain, we all know that the number one blockchain in the world is Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. And Bitcoin has a couple of big challenges that are needed to be addressed as it moves into the next few year window, and we are focused on delivering that performance and sustainability to Bitcoin.
Mm. Yeah, no, of course, that's very important, and I'm guessing that also has to do with securing the Bitcoin network, Bitcoin mining, and the miners, and making sure that they can support the network as it continues to grow, and that there's not a backlog of transactions, and that it costs a lot. Otherwise, it won't be scalable. So how exactly do we address the scalability issues of Bitcoin?
Yeah, so Bitcoin has a few different things that I think need to be addressed. Number one, as we all know, Bitcoin uses energy to secure and provide that stability to the Bitcoin protocol and the network. So that use of energy is very critical. However, we are in a world where we have to be respectful to the climate. And so the idea is, how can the energy that Bitcoin uses be used in a constructive fashion And there are lots of ways to do that. One thing that people are working on, well, the first thing people are working on is to make sure Bitcoin only uses renewable energy. And that trend is happening and it's very positive and everybody is on board with that. The second thing is that is happening is this notion of demand response, where Bitcoin consumes energy only when it is either excess energy or it's wasted energy, right? And when the rest of the world, the consumers or the industries need that energy, it gives it back, right? And the benefit of that is that it doesn't increase the amount of energy that's needed, but what it does is it stabilizes the grid and really make sure that it provides a better return on investment to the people that build these energy sources, right? So that's another big important thing. And then the third thing that is happening in the Bitcoin is today, if you look at the Bitcoin hashing, that's very evenly or generally evenly spread out across the world, across various geographies. North America has approximately 40% or so of the global hash rate. That's hashing is happening in China, and more in the Middle East, in South America, and so forth. However, the supply of Bitcoin ASICs, for one reason or another, is almost entirely out of China-based companies. And that's not a good thing for a decentralized protocol. You really need the supply of ASICs to come from various geographies, and that's another challenge. So we at Auradine are focused on addressing all of these.
Mm-hmm. Some great points. I'd love to dive into all of them. You mentioned at the beginning there about the renewable energies and ensuring that Bitcoin's not sucking energy out from households when they need it. It's using the excess or the wasted energy. And I think there's a misunderstanding or just not enough information given to people about how renewable Bitcoin is right now and also how much power it actually does consume. People have made comparisons in the past about, it's using more energy than entire cities or entire countries, but I don't believe that to be true. Do you have any insights into how green Bitcoin is right now and relatively how much power the network consumes?
Yes. So, the estimates are more than 60% of Bitcoin mining is using renewable infrastructure, and that percentage is increasing every day. So that's number one. The other thing that a lot of people don't know is that the amount of wasted energy on the planet today is just unbelievable. I just have been learning about this space over the last few years, and what I've learned is that natural gas and methane flaring combined across the planet is 250 billion cubic feet gets flared and wasted. It actually adds to carbon emissions and global warming and so forth. The total energy that the Bitcoin network consumes is a small fraction of that. So if we can use that wasted energy, we can actually in many ways reduce carbon emissions and global warming if we do it responsibly, right? And so that, from our point of view, is an important thing to do. It requires obviously education as well as effort on the part of the Bitcoin miners as well as regulators to make sure that the whole world moves in this direction.
Great insights, Rajiv. And on the miner side, on the actual hardware and the infrastructure that's used to make the calculations and bring the energy in and turn it into Bitcoin, how do you guys build new hardware to measure the efficiency, to make it more efficient, making sure that it is green, making sure that it works well with renewable energies?
Requires Bitcoin is one of those things that requires leading edge process technology, semiconductor technology. And so we have to be developing at the most advanced process nodes. In addition, there's a lot of architectural work and process work that needs to be done. So I believe that there's very few companies that can pull this. Many companies have tried and not succeeded in this space. Seems like a simple problem, but it's not. It's very, very hard from a silicon point of view. But that silicon by itself is not sufficient. You have to build at a system level and at a software level capabilities that allow for very rapid demand response. And at Auradine, we have this technology that we've innovated from the ground up, which we call Energy Tune, where the miners can, at a single miner level or at a data center scale level, modulate the energy consumption in close partnership with the energy providers to make that demand response happen. So it requires a lot of technology innovation to put this together.
So you said that the hash rate, the hash rate in the network is fairly decentralized geographically, but the actual production of the miners themselves is mostly in China. I feel like that could be a problem for different reasons and from different countries' reasons. Is that something that your team is working on, trying to bring more decentralization to that and fix that balance?
Yeah. So today we are US-based company. We are based in Silicon Valley, California. We have put together a supply chain that allows miners to get that optionality and risk mitigation. So we are working hard to make that happen. And what we also believe is that not only centralization is the risk, but the world has gone through and continues to go through supply-related shocks because of pandemic, also because of geopolitical issues, sanctions, tariffs, access to leading-edge process technology are all important aspects of this. And so I think it's important to have supply of ASICs from multiple places in the world. And I think it's important to, Bitcoin is at the verge of lots of ETFs. Lots of people will end up owning Bitcoin through those ETFs. It's going to become an integral part of our financial system. And you don't want to have a scenario where there is risk of centralization. And as you know, centralization can result in the 51% attack on the Bitcoin protocol, which we never want to happen.
No, great point. And when a lot of the miners are built in one specific country, I don't know a lot about the intricacies of these ASICs, but I'm familiar with Antminer as one of the bigger names in mining. I'm guessing that's from one of the Chinese-made companies. Is it a matter of efficiency versus cost and quality? Are you able to produce something at equal cost to what could be produced in China, but also obviously better quality?
Yeah. So what we are doing is our focus is to build the best efficiency products. Our focus is to build the highest performance products. And our focus is to deliver better capabilities on demand response and uptime. So the way we are focused on this is to provide a much better total cost of ownership to the miners. So the quality of our products is better. We have the ability for rapid curtailment of energy, which provides economic value to the miners as well. And so overall, we believe we offer the best solution on the market today.
And I'd love to sort of zoom this into Bitcoin and the mining environment throughout 2023 and 2024. Despite the price of Bitcoin sort of fluctuating, but overall going up quite a bit in 2023, it seems like even during the bear market, the Bitcoin hash rate and the amount of people that are getting into mining continues to rise. And from what I understand, Bitcoin hash rate is near all-time highs, and it's probably only going to get bigger. And with the major event, which primarily affects Bitcoin mining, but it does affect everybody in Bitcoin in 2024, is the Bitcoin halving event. Can you talk a little bit about what you're seeing in the mining environment throughout 2023 and throughout the price rise of Bitcoin that we've seen this year? Is there a significant amount more miners coming into the space, and is it getting more competitive?
Halving is going to happen, right? People expect it to happen in May 2024. And when that happens, the amount of block rewards reduces by half. And so what people in my view, are trying to do is maximize the hashing to capture as many of the Bitcoin rewards they can in advance of the halving. Now, what happens after halving, if you're a miner that's running a Bitcoin mining data center, there are four things that become much more important than in the past. Number one is efficiency, because what you want to do is consume less energy because the cost of mining a Bitcoin doubles. So that's number one. Second thing is, I believe we spoke about energy demand response and energy partnerships. I think that's going to become even more important than ever before. The shift to renewables and so forth, and we may, for all we know, see some consolidation where energy providers will want to either buy miners or vice versa. And we could see that over the next 4-year window. Okay, so that's another big thing. Third thing that miners have to always be prepared for is volatility. So the Bitcoin price is volatile, but in addition, there's the difficulty that you can't predict, the climate that you cannot predict, regulation is another thing you can't predict, and then the transaction fees on the Bitcoin blockchain. These are all unpredictable things, and you want to be prepared from an infrastructure point of view to mitigate or adapt easily to that volatility. So that's another very important thing. And then finally, as we discussed earlier, geopolitics and supply chain resiliency is an important aspect subsequent to the halving.
There's so many different factors to consider when you're running these mining rigs. It's crazy. And with your team being in the Silicon Valley, I'm curious if you have a knowledge of mining within the United States versus, you mentioned in China and in the Middle East. I know there's a lot of factories there as well that have probably thousands of miners in them. Does the United States have competitive energy costs, or is there specific, I'm guessing inside of the US, there's different regions that you can probably get the best bang for your buck in terms of where you should be mining and where is the most efficient?
Yes, it varies. It varies from place to place. There are places in the United States. In fact, I just met somebody yesterday that is building a brand new company just focused on natural gas flaring. And they're able to get attractive costs for that, because not only are they getting cheap energy that would otherwise be wasted, but they also get some carbon credits along with that. Okay, so that kind of makes it a win-win for everyone. There are cases where in South America, for instance, people have been able to get very attractive energy costs in hydro, energy sources where it's stranded energy, where there is no transmission line. And until those transmission lines get built and the demand happens, that energy is available in a cheaper rate, and then eventually will go up. So it's one of those things where Bitcoin can fill the void and provide some good ROI.
When you mentioned South America there, I'm not sure if it's efficient and working, but I heard the story about powering the Bitcoin miners through the volcanoes. That was a big thing in El Salvador. But I've also seen other videos and working testimonials about cooking oil or burning garbage and all of these different ways to sort of power Bitcoin miners. I'm guessing that the main renewable energy sources are, I don't know, solar and natural gas and things like that.
Wind is another one. Wind, hydro, solar, and then of course natural gas and methane.
Yeah, very interesting. And with the lead up to the halving, what does it look like for you guys that just released this miner? Are the miners looking to buy? They're buying them now, or I guess because there is a sort of there's an efficiency every time every year or so. It seems like there's always it's like a new iPhone. There's always a new miner coming out that's more efficient, and of course the miners have to buy them and put up costs ahead of time and then sort of average those out over the use of the lifetime of the miners. But I feel like right now we're maybe 6 months away from the halving. Are people buying the new miner in relation to the halving, or is it in relation to the business that they're running and, hey, their miners are 2 years old or 3 years old, so now's the time to get a new miner?
I mean, like I said, efficiency is going to be super critical. And then if you look at the trajectory of the Bitcoin price, while it's volatile, it does follow a pattern. We don't know whether it'll recur in the future, but typically in the 12-month or 18-month window beyond the halving, there is a bull run. And what happens is that you have to be prepared with that infrastructure to be ready for the bull run, right? And so in order to be ready for the bull run, you have to have deployed this infrastructure ahead of that time, not at the tail end of that bull run. And typically after that bull run, we've seen a crash, and we've seen this multiple times in the past. So the current expectation, and again, we don't know if it's going to happen, is that 2025 could be a great bull run. And so if you want to take advantage of that potential bull run, you have to be ready in 2024. And so we are talking to a bunch of folks that are working with us on pre-orders and, want to lock in those supply, because there is always a scenario where supply becomes tight in that time frame.
Yeah, no, great insights. And I'm guessing that the business is probably going to be quite busy for Auradine leading up to the Bitcoin halving, which it's by block number, but it's approximately the end of March or April, which comes quickly.
Yes.
So is the plan for your team now mainly to just push out as many of these miners and focus on efficiency and quality as possible from now until the end of the halving?
Certainly for our Bitcoin product line, that is absolutely the case. And, we are building the supply. We are executing on the product. We are getting ready ourselves to be able to put the best software and the capabilities. We actually have, our first product line, which we announced earlier this year. We have shipped initial units of that to, about a dozen or so customers. We have some meaningful orders already in place that we will ship in the first half of 2024. And then the new products that we just announced will start shipping in Q2 of next year, which is like right after the halving, through the balance of 2024 and beyond.
Very cool.
So we are really busy getting this whole product pipeline in place.
Definitely. And what is the best way for people to learn more about Auradine's tech and just to follow your works?
They can visit our website, auradine.com. There are ways to connect with us. There are ways to learn more about the products that we have. And we are actively talking to some customers. We would welcome people to reach out if they want to.
Sounds great, Rajiv. Thank you so much for all the insights on Bitcoin mining, energy efficiency, building out the infrastructure for Bitcoin and blockchain to be more scalable. We're going to need it. And I hope that Bitcoin outperforms all our expectations for the next 2 years. And I know your team's going to have a role in that, creating the miners to actually mine the Bitcoin. So all the best with everything moving forward into the halving and beyond. And let's definitely follow up in the near future.
Thank you very much, Ashton. It's great to be on your program.